Hey guys, it's Jay. How are you? Um, Been having a lot of questions come into the blog, also via Facebook and wherever else. Guys are emailing me all the time on testosterone, and there's so many of them that I don't want to do. I thought originally I was just going to do one video on all the TRT and do like an FAQ document, but I realize now that some of these things are more intensive as far as the data that you or the data points that are required to respond to like certain questions. So anyway, today's question is about testosterone replacement therapy and body fat levels. This is a really good subject, and you probably are going to get a lot of different answers, especially if you speak with a progressive physician who really understands testosterone replacement therapy, of which we constantly are saying on the blog, there are not many, unfortunately. There are some great doctors out there that understand TRT, but for the purposes of many of you guys who are seeking treatment, it's tough pickings, man. So, my thoughts on TRT. You can work with Defy Medical. You can work with Dr. Brett Osborne. I have another doctor that I'm going to be offering to you guys in the near future. But there's obviously great doctors out there that I don't have any affiliation or allegiance to that are also great. Go on my page again, as always, TRT, the Testosterone Resources page at the very top in the main nav, and again, familiarize yourselves with all that data in there. There are tons of podcasts. There are tons of links to articles. There's plenty of information. Nelson Virgil and I have done some podcasts. Plenty of great things with Dr. Osborne and myself. And again, there's anything that's been done, in my opinion, that's been professional on the internet that talked about testosterone. Jerry Brainham's got a good video in there. There's an interview with Rand McClain, Dr. Florence Comite. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and again, familiarize yourself with it. That's all I can say. Now, on to the question: testosterone and body fat. So normally the question becomes, if I'm fat, what's going to happen when I start TRT? So let me just big picture it, and then I'll square it down to like a 3,000-foot version for everybody, so that they can make a good decision for themselves individually. The problem when you have high body fat, okay, and then you engage or begin testosterone replacement therapy is that the higher the body fat on you, the more likely you are to produce aromatase enzyme. And aromatase enzyme is what allows inside the body metabolically the expression of estrogen, or actually it just increases your E2, which is your estradiol. And it doesn't work. Some guys are, again, it's all biochemical individuality. Some guys are a little bit more sensitive than others, but it stands to reason that, if you use a mean curve, so it stands to reason if you use like a median or a mean curve of guys from a data point who are high body fat, taking testosterone or beginning testosterone replacement therapy, that they're going to overproduce aromatase, and then aromatase is going to convert into increased estrogen, or they're going to have increased estrogen production, which is E2, estradiol. And the reality is very simply this, okay? When the book comes out, which the book will be out soon, there's a whole chapter on obesity, insulin resistance, and testosterone replacement therapy. We delve into this subject very detailed and as structured as we can, because again, it's a subject, with people that start testosterone replacement therapy, it affects a lot of men who are not in the best of conditions. So my recommendation to you is, first off, as we always say, testosterone is nothing more than an adjunct, okay? It's not going to replace a healthy diet. It's not going to replace a quality training program, both anaerobic and aerobic, so endurance and weight training. You have to do those things, okay? If you're going to begin testosterone replacement therapy, you've got to do those things to maximize testosterone replacement therapy. I cannot stress that enough, okay? But if there's kind of a rule of thumb, and I state this again in the book, I would want a guy to be under 20% body fat when he begins testosterone replacement therapy to avoid potential side effects. Again, the side effects that come about from increased estrogen production or too much estradiol. Again, when the book comes out, it'll explain it in much greater detail. I'll save it for the book. But so the rule of thumb is, if you're over 20% body fat, you probably should begin a body fat reduction program. Again, a combination of strength training endurance training, and of course a caloric deficit, however you do that, okay? Again, plenty of articles on my blog that lose body fat. Not a hard thing to figure out. But I always struggle to say you should be below 20% body fat when you begin testosterone, because testosterone therapy itself is lipolytic. Okay, so lipolytic meaning fat burning. So that means that a lot of guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are, not obese, but fat, they got the beer belly, the gut hang or whatever, it's hanging over their belt. A lot of those guys have low testosterone because of their insulin resistance and their metabolic syndrome, and they're close to obesity or possible diabetes or any of those things. All these metabolic syndrome issues, the diseases of aging that come about from being over fat or too fat. So it's hard, if you're a doctor, and again, I'm not a doctor. I'm first got to admit that I'm not playing doctor here in this conversation. I'm just literally giving you guys good information as a person who's been a patient of testosterone replacement therapy for close to 15 years. The reality is that testosterone, again, is lipolytic. It's fat burning. So it does stand to reason that an intelligent guy, who's also attempting to lose weight through all the reasons that I've already previously discussed, caloric deficit, endurance training, resistance training, and obviously, good sleep and the other habits that are necessary, he can begin testosterone replacement therapy. But the issue becomes, because he's high body fat, you better make sure that you're working with a good progressive physician who's going to monitor your blood panels, okay? They're going to monitor your blood panels, obviously, before you start, 4 to 6 weeks in, checking for balance, checking for side effects, and then, wherever it goes from there, maybe 3 to 4 months later. Remember, guys, and I always say this, and again, I'll continue to go back to the book because this is stressed heavily in the book. When you begin testosterone replacement therapy, there's 2 goals. The goals are, and I credit John Crisler for this, the goals are happiness and balance. Okay? Balance between testosterone and estrogen, and happiness in your overall field. Meaning, how does a doctor, or how do you judge whether your testosterone replacement therapy program is working? Well, you judge it based on how you feel. Do you feel good? Are you happy? Are you able to get through the day without any brain fog, good energy? Do you have a robust libido? Can you maintain a strong erection? Do you have good energy and stamina and endurance in the gym? These are all the things that when things are going right with testosterone, and they better be going right if you're using it and you're doing it correctly, and that it should be going right, then that's how you detect that it's working, because you're happy. You feel functional, you feel strong. All the great benefits that are, again, written about in detail in the book are happening for you in your life, then it's working. So for some guys, who are fat, it's going to take a little bit longer to balance you out, right? Because again, you are likely to overproduce aromatase. Aromatase is going to lead to increased estrogen production, and then you're going to have all the other issues. Now, I do work with guys that have metabolic, syndrome. They're obese. They really struggle. Everything is broken because, again, the whole metabolic syndrome issue, everything's broken pretty much, man. Nothing's working. You've got all kinds of issues. You can't get an erection. You have no libido. Your metabolism doesn't work effectively or properly. So a lot of things are going on with that condition or that quote-unquote disease. So the solution is lose body fat, okay? This video is not about the optimal way to lose body fat. Again, I've talked about that on my blog 1,000 times. There's a million articles you can read about. So to sum everything up, testosterone and body fat. If your body fat is over 20%, if you don't know what the fuck your body fat is, then again, go get your body fat measured. Go to a dunk tank, go get a DEXA scan, have a quality, intelligent personal trainer do a 7-site or 11-type caliper skin fold measurement method. Find out your body fat. As I always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You cannot start anything without a plan. First, know your body fat. So if your body fat is under 20%, proceed with caution. Do what you got to do. Get a progressive physician, and start a testosterone replacement therapy regimen. Assuming you qualify. Again, not getting into the discussion of why you should qualify. That's in the book, and I've written plenty of articles on the blog. You can read about it from that standpoint too. If you're over 20% body fat, number one thing, begin a fat reduction protocol. How do you do that? Again, simple. Go to my website, read about fat loss. Do a search, 100 articles will come up. Okay, begin testosterone replacement therapy knowing, okay, that you are at risk, that you potentially are going to have estrogenic side effects. So make sure you're using a doctor who's progressive, who's smart, who's going to measure your blood values before you start, 4 to 6 weeks in, maybe 3 months or 2 months after that, and then assess how you feel. Are you happy? Do you feel balanced? Do you have high estrogenic side effects? They can be moodiness, puffy face, water retention, feeling bloated, the worst side effects of itchy nipples, gynocastia. You don't want that. So if you're not having any of those symptoms and you're obese and you're on testosterone, you should still be very vigilant and monitor that and make sure that those things don't happen. And again, if you start having symptoms, make sure you're communicating with your doctor. And I left this off, but your doctor, again, I'm assuming you're working with a good doctor, a progressive physician. They should probably have you on an AI, okay, an aromatase inhibition medication. Again, not to discuss those. That's written about in the book. You're going to have the ability to get the book soon. But again, that's my take on high body fat and testosterone. Proceed with caution. You can use it. You can definitely do it if you're over 20% body fat. But again, focus on losing body fat while you're on it and make sure you're balanced and make sure you're working with a progressive physician who can treat if you do have high estrogen production and symptoms, that they can treat with an aromatase inhibitor, and also modulating your dose or titrating your dose if necessary so that you can balance your estrogen and testosterone. So just a real quick word on the book. The book should be out hopefully within the next 6 weeks. My good friend Mike at Danger and Play is doing a slight rewrite to it, making it better as he always does with his writing skills, and that's pretty much all I got right now. We'll have more information about it. You can still go to FabFitOver40.com/TRT, okay, and you can sign up to be on the pre-sale list. Once again, I really appreciate you guys watching. Take care.